It's kind of hard for Meghan to say that the UK is a racist country when the leader of the UK is darker skinned than her and the mayor of London is darker skinned than her. And I am a person who's probably darker skinned than her, and I've never experienced any kind of bigotry against myself besides the fact I'm a straight male. I'll get bigotry for that before I'll get bigotry for my skin color. She has attacked an age-old institution, and there are people who are very patriotic about that institution. And by attacking it and bringing a degree of distaste to it, there's gonna be people who don't like her.
Believing in a colourblind world, and that's what I was told at school, that we shouldn't actually obsess about someone's race. Now, if you sign up to that philosophy, you're described as being racist. And it feels to me like Meghan has really utilised that.
You sense a responsibility perhaps you didn't have early on.
Well, we all evolve.
Hey, great to have you here. People are so terrified when talking about Harry and Meghan because they're worried that they're going to be accused of racism. You're clearly not.
Day by day. You wouldn't be human if you didn't evolve on an hour-by-hour basis. But I do not think I'm a force for good. I absolutely not really know I am a force for good because I'm a force for truth. And truth is a good thing.
Prince, please. He's Meghan's +1 now. Tate snapped, and the internet lit up in seconds, calling Meghan Markle the downfall of Prince Harry and the queen of manipulative victimhood. He set the tone for a takedown that rattled every news feed. Tate's verdict rang out like a bell. She destroyed Harry. Each word hit with the force of a hammer. Known for raw honesty, he skipped polite chatter and jumped straight into the fire.
I'm not worried about that. I refuse to live in an absolute fantasy and people are dodging around the true issue. I'm a person of color myself, but I don't think that's why I'm inspired. We're going to end up in absolute tyranny and slavery, and we're already on our way there. I feel like we're starting to combat it. My cancellation was the beginning of a change in public consciousness. Elon having Twitter is another beginning. As a justification for the fact that she isn't liked by the majority of people is a cop-out. It's not the case. And anybody who stands up and speaks what they truly believe, even if it's something I don't personally agree with, I think that truth is absolutely important. Garner any kind of racism in day-to-day life. She's less dark-skinned than me, and I certainly haven't suffered from any racism, so I don't think race has anything to do with it. I think she's just a dislikable person.
Most commentators tiptoe around the Sussex debate, worried about harsh labels, yet Tate brushed that fear aside. In one viral interview, he cast the whole romance as a cultural hijack, turning a royal fairy tale into a cautionary blockbuster. He was a prince. Now he's a punchline, Tate declared, shaking his head. Viewers felt the sting as his tone sharpened line by line. Yes, people evolve, he said, but Harry's shift looked forced, shaped by Meghan's hand. In Tate's eyes, she rewrote his destiny and transformed royal heritage into a made-for-streaming drama. Whether critics see Tate as bold or reckless, one truth stands. He voiced whispers millions keep quiet. Then he marched straight into the hottest layer, race. She's lighter than me, and I've never cried about racism. Tate fired, dismissing claims that skin tone explains the backlash. He called it nonsense, arguing it shields Meghan from fair critique. Using race as armor, he said, insults those who face real prejudice. Dislike for Meghan, in his view, grows from attitude, not ancestry. He described her as smug, condescending, and always the victim, sparking cheers from doubters and gasps from fans.
Society, by every metric you can possibly measure it, is absolutely and utterly failing. The cost of living crisis, the crime rates, everything is falling apart. If you
This fits into one of your bigger narratives, doesn't it? Which is that you're very worried that men today seem to be embracing the idea of being victims.
Tate claimed fear of harsh labels gave Meghan a bulletproof vest. You can't challenge her. You can't question her, he warned. Because if you do, suddenly you're the villain. That line echoed across every timeline. He painted Meghan as a strategist who played Harry like a violin, crafting a melody of tears, identity politics, and Hollywood sparkle. She knew exactly what she was doing. Tate insisted. Harry, in this framing, didn't stumble. He marched straight into her plan. The image turned darker. Harry, once the daring royal soldier, now looked like a shadow of his former self.
You're a full-grown man. You're a full-grown adult. When's the last time there's been a serious problem in your life that you completely ignored and it fixed itself? Never, ever. What are any of our politicians doing to fix any of
The reasons that you are a resilient human being is because you have lived through trauma, but that trauma actually propelled you to success rather than...
Tate called it the saddest plot twist in modern monarchy. Audiences leaned closer, hungry for more. During an era soaked in polite sound bites, few break the official narrative. Tate bulldozed through, trading caution for raw clarity. His rant forced a sudden shift. Hashtags exploded. Meghan's defenders blasted Tate for toxic masculinity on full display. Critics called him a truth teller who finally said what everyone else feared. Like him or hate him, the debate changed instantly. Tate warned Meghan's public image hangs by a thread. If voices like his keep rising, the Sussex fairy tale could collapse live on screen. Viewers replayed the interview, wrestling with one uneasy thought. Could Tate be right? But Tate wasn't finished. He turned the spotlight on Prince Harry with surgical precision. He argued Harry quit being a symbol of duty and became a walking lesson in lost masculinity. He's been emasculated. Tate charged. He's lost the respect of the public and the institution he was born into. The line boomed like thunder. Remember old Harry, the combat veteran, the rebel prince who marched behind his mother's coffin?
Did he? It's absolutely unacceptable.
What about the issue of race? And I mentioned that in the context of the Harry and Meghan ongoing debate, their war with the royal family, war against the monarchy.
And for you to be competent, you have to have lived through some things. To be good at being a man, you have to have had a hard life. If you look at any superhero, his life was hard. This is the reality of it. And I think that
Tate contrasted that hero with today's Harry, a podcast regular sharing private struggles on global streams. He went from fighting in Afghanistan to reading trauma audiobooks and crying on Oprah's couch. What happened to him? Tate asked, eyes wide. The punch landed hard. To Tate, Harry isn't just love-struck, he's proof society punishes strength and praises weakness. To be a good man, you need a hard life. Tate declared, that's the truth. Modern culture, he claimed, rewards soft behavior while mocking resilience. Harry, in this view, traded royal armor for a ready-for-camera narrative. Instead of quiet honor, he embraced streaming deals and talk show tears. Each step, Tate said, chipped away at centuries of tradition built on stoic service. Tate reminded viewers Meghan didn't drag Harry from the palace. He walked out. He chose it. Tate stated, with that choice, trust shattered, turning royal dignity into headline drama. Generations saw the crown as a sturdy lighthouse, steady and bright. Tate argued Harry dimmed that beam, turning a symbol of guidance into a backdrop for personal pain. Tate also followed the money trail. Streaming contracts, book advances, endless interviews, he pointed out that drama pays well. Pain sells, he exclaimed. Each emotional confession, he said, arrived with a new payday. Defenders of the Sussexes countered that Tate ignored charity work and mental health truths. Supporters replied that goodwill does not erase abandoned duty. Comment threads burned as each side claimed moral high ground. Behind palace doors, insiders reportedly grew anxious. If public faith cracks, centuries of tradition could wobble. Meanwhile, neutral viewers who once stayed silent felt new permission to speak. Royal historians noted scandals are nothing new. King Edward VIII left for love in 1936, yet the monarchy survived. Tate's followers argued Edward bowed out quietly, while Harry livestreams heartbreak. Amid screaming headlines, one craving remains: authenticity. Tate claims he delivers it, raw and unfiltered. Meghan's backers say she risked comfort to live honestly outside palace walls. Audiences must weigh whose truth feels real. The debate has shifted beyond two people. It digs into identity, masculinity, and the toll of public life. Tate's fiery speech dragged those issues into bright daylight, and they refuse to slip back into shadow. Every fresh interview sparks new flames. Next comments from the Sussex camp could calm the storm or fan it. The world watches, glued to a royal stage that has never felt so shaky. As the echo fades, Tate's closing note still rings. Truth doesn't care about feelings. Some call his stance harsh, others say refreshing. Everyone agrees, the conversation cannot return to silence. Bang! This is Tate hitting the jugular. In his view, Harry is not simply confused, he is house-trained. The proud rebel prince who once charged through Afghan dust now moves like a tame pet, stripped of edge, identity, and worst of all, public respect. Tate warns that Harry's choices speak louder than palace bells. The message, he says, is loud and bleak for modern men. Tradition is oppressive, stoic grit is old-fashioned, vulnerability is everything, and raw strength is taboo. He scolds the idea that you can't just instantly stand up and say it's because of my skin color when backlash strikes. Maybe, Tate argues, the real backlash grows from action and words, not complexion. He does admit racism exists, yet he refuses to let the charge erase honest criticism. Crossed swords, Tate's monologue sounds less like gossip and more like a war cry. He sees Harry's story as proof that masculinity is under siege. It is not the scandals or royal rifts that hurt the most, he says, but the slow erosion of a man who once stood tall and now stands for nothing. Tornado in one of his sharpest rants, Tate does not just call Meghan controversial, he crowns her queen of modern narcissism. He says she has become a cultural blueprint, showing how image, victimhood, and personal branding can outrank truth, duty, and accountability. Tate tosses aside tiaras and tea parties. He paints Meghan as the ultimate 21st century influencer who sells victimhood, not lip gloss. One day, she is a royal, the next a survivor of deep oppression, and the day after that she is launching American Riviera orchard with jam jars and luxury candles. To him, every scandal becomes a marketing launch, and every tear on camera powers a fresh rebrand. He insists Meghan never wanted to serve the crown, she wanted to use it. Tate claims she entered the palace to leverage royal prestige, and when that prestige no longer fit her story, she burned it like old scripts and wrote herself in as the wounded heroine. While the royal family keeps its age-old rule of never complain, never explain, Meghan does the opposite. She sits for public confessions, emotional interviews, and Netflix tell-alls that blur healing with hustling. Tate shouts that if you accuse an ancient institution of wrongdoing, you need evidence, not misty hints. He says Meghan stands for a bigger shift where people chase validation, not truth. In this new world, victimhood equals power, fame grows on drama, and buzzwords beat substance. He warns that if a critic inspires others to think, media gatekeepers will grab a word like racist or misogynist, slap it on the critic, stir the news machine, and try to erase that voice. Tate argues Meghan's greatest talent is narrative control. She flips public perception, plays underdog and icon at once, and spins every headline, good or bad, into brand equity. He claims modern culture now rewards this tactic, praising the spotlight over sincerity. He pushes even harder on the race angle. Tate recalls Meghan saying she never even experienced racism until after joining the royal family, then offering only vague secondhand tales. He calls that timing too convenient and says it turns real prejudice into a stage prop. To Tate, Meghan's story is projection, not persecution. A well-oiled campaign that rebrands ambition as activism and dodges personal accountability. He mocks the idea that anyone looks at her and thinks, wow, look how dark-skinned you are, calling that notion absurd. What chills Tate the most is the thought that Meghan is not the exception but the template. He fears a new breed of public figures, narcissists draped in empowerment, influencers masked as victims, stars who value clicks over character. He claims Meghan proves that in the digital age you do not need truth to gain power, you need a story people are too nervous to question. As long as the narrative glitters, the masses will applaud while authenticity slips out the back door. Tate worries the cost of that mastery is larger than one crown or one monarchy. He sees the price as the very erosion of truth, the rise of self-obsession, and a culture where narcissism shines like a halo and dares anyone to challenge it. He fires a final volley. This saga is only a symptom. The deeper illness is a world where truth is cuffed, free speech faces trial, and media no longer reports but dictates. Narratives are manufactured, pesky facts are buried, and anyone who questions the script is slapped with a danger tag. Tate says control is the real game. Powerful voices craft buzzwords, set the stage, and label dissenters as hateful or unsafe. In that arena, the Sussex drama is just one flashy example of a bigger power grab. According to Tate, the moment we let fear silence honest debate, we hand that control to whoever shouts loudest about oppression, no matter how thin the evidence. He challenges viewers to see beyond curated tears and deluxe candle launches, asking whether the loudest victim stories hide the quiet erosion of shared truth. With each rant, Tate doubles down that the stakes stretch beyond royalty. This is about the future of open speech and authentic masculinity. He warns that if society keeps praising victim narratives, Tomorrow's young men might trade courage for compliance and trade grit for hashtags. And so the scene ends not with a tidy moral bow, but with an uneasy echo. Tate's alarm bell rings through social feeds, leaving everyone to ask whether the next headline is honest reporting or carefully packaged control.